The life of a chosen one is never ordinary. From the moment you stepped into this world, you were marked by the divine, a light meant to shine in the darkest corners of the earth. But with that light came challenges, opposition, and enemies. Those who doubted you, mocked you, and even betrayed you thought they had the upper hand. Little did they know that God had already written the final chapter of your story, a chapter that promises vindication, redemption, and divine justice. You see, being chosen isn't just about the blessings, it's about enduring the trials that come with it. It's about walking through the valleys while trusting in God's plan, even when it seems like the enemy is winning. Many of the people who turned against you were not strangers. They were individuals you trusted, loved, and perhaps even helped. Their betrayal wasn't random, it was strategic. The enemy used them to plant seeds of doubt, discouragement, and pain in your heart. They celebrated your setbacks, whispered rumors behind your back, and even rejoiced in your failures. But they underestimated one crucial thing: God's covenant with you. Throughout history, God has always stood with his chosen ones. Think of Joseph, a man who was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. To the world, Joseph was a failure. To his enemies, he was forgotten. But in God's eyes, Joseph was being prepared for greatness. The same is true for you. The hardships you faced were not a sign of abandonment, but preparation. Every tear you shed, every night you spent in despair, was a step closer to the breakthrough God has in store for you. Now, let's address the enemies, those who tried to bring you down. They thought their actions would bury you, but they didn't realize they were planting a seed. They didn't understand that the more they pushed against you, the stronger you became. God allowed their schemes, not because he wanted to see you suffer, but because he wanted to make an example of his power through you. When God steps in, he doesn't just silence your enemies, he exposes them. He reveals their true intentions and shows the world the difference between his chosen ones and those who stand against them. But why does God allow public humiliation for your enemies? The answer lies in his justice. God is not a God of chaos, he is a God of order. When your enemies plotted against you, they disrupted that order. They thought they could rewrite your destiny, but God's plans cannot be altered. By publicly humiliating them, God restores balance. He makes it clear to everyone watching that his chosen ones are under his protection and that no weapon formed against them will prosper. This public humiliation isn't about revenge, it's about redemption. It's about showing the world that you are his, and that no force, human or otherwise, can stand against his will. The very people who laughed at you, belittled you, and spread lies about you will be the ones who have to witness your rise. They will see the favor of God over your life and realize that their actions only propelled you closer to your destiny. God's timing is always perfect. While it may have felt like he was silent during your trials, he was orchestrating a plan that would not only lift you, but also make an undeniable statement about his power. This is why patience is key. When you're chosen, the journey isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. The moment of vindication is near, and it will be glorious. Stay firm in your faith and remember that God's promises are unbreakable. Your enemies may have tried to write the narrative, but God holds the pen. They may have thought they were burying you, but they were planting you for a season of unimaginable growth and abundance. Now the stage is set. Your moment of divine vindication is here, and it will leave no doubt in anyone's mind that you are God's chosen one. As a chosen one, your journey is a testament to the undeniable power of God's grace and protection. While the world may have doubted you and enemies tried to break you, your faith in God's purpose for your life remained unshaken. Now the divine moment has arrived where God will take what was meant for your harm and turn it into a powerful statement of his sovereignty and justice. This is your season of victory, and it will leave everyone speechless, especially those who underestimated you. When God decides to act on behalf of his chosen ones, it's not a subtle move, it's monumental. His plans are never small or hidden. Instead, they are grand displays of his power that make it evident to everyone that his favor rests upon you. For your enemies, this revelation will be nothing short of humiliating. They plotted against you in secret, hoping their schemes would destroy you. They gossiped, sabotaged, and did everything in their power to dim your light. But here's the thing, you cannot curse what God has already blessed. These individuals underestimated the force they were up against. They thought they were fighting against you, but in reality, they were opposing God himself. Scripture tells us, if God is for us, who can be against us? Your enemy's arrogance blinded them to this truth. They believed they could manipulate situations, spread lies, and stand in your way without consequences. But God has been watching all along. Every betrayal, every attack, and every attempt to derail you was recorded by him, and now he's stepping in, not just to defend you, but to elevate you in a way that will leave no doubt about his power. Public humiliation for your enemies isn't just about exposing their wrongs, it's about glorifying God's righteousness. The very people who thought they had defeated you will now witness your elevation. Imagine their shock when the tables turn and they realize that their efforts to harm you have only contributed to your success. God's protection over you has been unbreakable, and this divine shield is about to become visible for all to see. Let's not forget how God works in ways that often seem impossible to human understanding. Think about the story of Esther. Haman, the enemy of God's people, plotted to destroy them. He even built gallows to hang Mordecai, one of God's faithful servants. But in a divine twist, the very gallows Haman built for Mordecai became his downfall. This is the kind of poetic justice God orchestrates for his chosen ones. Your enemies too will fall into the very traps they set for you. For the chosen ones, this journey hasn't been easy. The constant battles, misunderstandings, and betrayals have left scars. But those scars are a testament to your resilience and God's faithfulness. They are a reminder that no matter how fierce the storm, you are unshakable because your foundation is built on God's promises. The trials you endured were not in vain. They were preparation for this very moment. Every tear you cried, every prayer you whispered, and every step of faith you took has brought you to this season of divine vindication. And let's talk about the impact of this vindication. When God moves on your behalf, it's not just for your benefit, it's also for his glory. Your story becomes a testimony, a living example of what happens when someone walks in obedience and faith. People who doubted God's presence in your life will be forced to acknowledge his power. Your elevation will inspire others to trust in him, even when the odds seem stacked against them. This is bigger than you. It's about the kingdom of God being glorified through your life. At the same time, your enemies will have no choice but to face the truth. Their plans didn't fail because of luck. They failed because they were fighting against a divine purpose. Their humiliation will not just be a punishment, it will be a lesson that God's chosen ones are untouchable. The protection over your life is impenetrable because it comes directly from the Creator of the universe. So, what should you do in this season of vindication? Remain humble. Remember that this is God's work, not yours. As he prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies, resist the temptation to gloat or seek revenge. Instead, let your life speak of his goodness and mercy. Use this victory to draw closer to him and to encourage others who are walking similar paths. This is your moment to shine, but it's also a moment to reflect. Everything you've been through has led you here. God has not only protected you, but also positioned you for greatness. The world is about to see what happens when someone walks in alignment with God's will. And your enemies, they're about to learn that no one can stand against the chosen ones. The time of vindication has finally arrived, and the chosen ones are about to witness the full manifestation of God's promises. For years, your enemies might have laughed at your struggles, dismissed your efforts, and ridiculed your faith. They believed they had succeeded in breaking you, silencing you, and keeping you from your destiny. But what they didn't realize was that God was preparing you in the silence, in the shadows, and in the trials. Now, as you stand on the threshold of your breakthrough, it's evident that your resilience, faith, and unwavering trust in God have not been in vain. This season isn't just about your personal victory, it's about God's public demonstration of His power and protection over His chosen ones. The same mouths that spoke ill of you will now have to speak of your favor. The same people who doubted your potential will now have to acknowledge your greatness. The same individuals who tried to tear you down will now see you rise higher than they ever imagined. This isn't revenge, it's divine justice, a justice that only God can deliver. God's unbreakable protection has been your greatest strength. While others may have tried to harm you with their words, actions, or intentions, none of it could touch you because you were shielded by His grace. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah 54:17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." This promise has been the anchor of your journey, and now it's being fulfilled in a way that everyone can see. Your enemies, who once underestimated the power of God in your life, will now witness firsthand what happens when someone is under divine protection. This unshakable protection isn't just a defensive measure, it's also a platform for elevation. God has been orchestrating every detail of your journey, ensuring that your rise is not just impactful, but also undeniable. You've faced countless challenges, but each one was a stepping stone, lifting you closer to your destiny. The hardships you endured weren't signs of failure, they were signs of preparation. And now, as you step into the fullness of God's plan for your life, you'll see how every trial worked together for your good. Let's take a moment to reflect on the significance of this moment. For the chosen ones, life has never been easy. You've always been different, set apart, and misunderstood. People couldn't understand your vision, your calling, or your purpose. They mistook your humility for weakness and your kindness for naivety. But what they failed to see was the power that resides within you, a power that comes directly from God. As this power becomes more evident, it's important to remember the source of your strength. Everything you have and everything you are is because of God's grace. Your victories are not a result of your own efforts, but a testament to His faithfulness. This is a time to give glory to Him, to acknowledge that without Him, none of this would be possible. As you rise, keep your heart humble and your focus on the purpose He has for you. For your enemies, this season will be one of reckoning. They will come to realize that their attempts to harm you were futile because they were fighting against God's plan. Their humiliation won't come from your actions, but from their own choices. The very schemes they devised to hurt you will turn against them, just as it happened in the story of Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery, thinking they were getting rid of him. But God used their actions to position Joseph for greatness, ultimately placing him in a position of power where he could save his family and countless others. Similarly, your enemies will see that their actions, though intended for harm, only pushed you closer to your destiny. Their humiliation will be a lesson for them and a testimony for others, a testimony of God's justice and the unshakable protection He provides for His chosen ones. As you step into this new chapter, remember that this is just the beginning. The same God who protected you, elevated you, and vindicated you will continue to guide you. Your story isn't over. It's evolving into something even greater. You've been called for a purpose, and this victory is a reminder of the incredible plans God has for you. So, walk boldly into this season with confidence, knowing that you are covered by God's unbreakable protection. Let your life be a light that inspires others to trust in Him. And as for your enemies, let their humiliation be a reminder to the world that no one can stand against the chosen ones. You are living proof that when God is for you, nothing can prevail against you. Your journey has been extraordinary, and it's only going to get better. The world is watching, and God is moving. The chosen ones are rising, and nothing can stop them. This is your moment. Step into it with faith, courage, and gratitude.